So I know that I've probably already exhausted this topic, but I just kind of want to make another video about it, and maybe I will in the future again. But live action anime adaptations just keep popping up all over the place. The most recent one that I've heard about is the reincarnated as a slime live action anime. And I don't know how that one's going to work. I mean, cuz you have anime shows that will work in the live action setting, like the anime Death Note. That seems to work fine in a live action setting because 90% of the characters in the show are humans. They're actual people, and it's just Ryuk and maybe a couple of other Shikigami that you have that are not human. But now with technology the way that it is, it's a lot easier to put a 3D person into, or a 3D character, a character that is not real, a character that is not human. It is a lot easier now to put in a fake character into a live action film. So I think that's why Death Note worked. uh, Attack on Titan, the live action Attack on Titan, I feel like that didn't really work as well because they kept the original characters the same, and they tried to, I think they just tried to like change the story beyond sort of what it was in the manga and also in the animated series, which is why I think it really didn't work out all that well. But and again, the movie Dragon Ball, the live action Dragon Ball, I don't really think worked out too well either. I mean, it's a hit or miss, right? With live action adaptations of famous cartoons and animations, you're either going to hit it big or it's going to be a complete flop, and there's really no in between. I think show like live action movies like Death Note work, right? Live action anime like Death Note work because there's really not a whole lot of suspension of disbelief. It's again, all the characters are human. There's really very little, interaction with, the Shikigami as a part, just further than, exchanging dialogue with a, somebody who's not actually in the room with you. In that in itself, I think can be sort of difficult in a way because you're almost, if you're trying to hold a conversation with a person, right, it's a lot easier to hold a conversation with a person that you're either talking to in the same room as you, or like texting or talking to on the phone or something like that. I mean, I'm sure they have ways, I'm sure they have somebody off camera reading the lines of this non existent character to make it a little more easy for the cast to sort of do what they gotta do. But I've just been thinking about this like last night, the night before I started recording this. The more outlandish the idea of the original like IP is, the harder it is to translate into a live action show. And that's why I keep going back to like the Death Note live action anime, or live action in 2017, which I thought it came out a lot later than 2017, but it just it didn't. 2017 is when that came out, and it's, I don't know. It's not just movies either. Like, everyone kind of got up in arms with the live action adaptation of Cowboy Bebop, which the couple episodes that I actually watched of that, I thoroughly enjoyed. I think the reason why a lot of people didn't like it was because it didn't follow the original anime. Everything about it was fine. The character choices, the as far as the actors who portrayed those characters, was absolutely spot on. And I mean, yeah, there were a few things that were different. Vicious was different. A lot of people were very upset about that change. I didn't mind it too much. There were a couple of other minor things that they could have done differently, but 95% of it was, or actually, 95% is probably a little too low. I'd say about 98% of the show that the part of the show that I saw was absolutely fantastic, and I really don't understand why people got all in a dizzy spell over it sucking and it being absolutely horrible. I mean, because you want the live action story, you want it to follow the original source material as closely as possible, but you also don't want it to be an exact copy and paste from the original source material. You know what I mean? And that's another reason why I think a lot of people didn't like the Cowboy Bebop live action show, is because it was just too far different from the original source material, which again I didn't mind. If it was an exact copy and paste, exact word for word from the original show, I don't think I would have liked it, because the live action Cowboy Bebop, I feel, is like it's a retelling, yes, but it's different. There's different. It's sort of a different telling of the same story from the original source materials. So, in order for them to not be exactly 100% like the source material, like the anime, or even the manga, if there was a manga for Cowboy Bebop, you have to sort of differentiate the storylines. As long as the characters, for me personally, if the characters are the same, and like 95% of the original cast and world that they're in is the same, I don't care what they do, because it's the more stuff that they do, and the more stuff that they're depicted doing, and the more places that they're shown doing those things in, I feel it just expands that world even more than what the original source material could do. I mean, I would have loved a second season of, I would have absolutely loved a second season of Cowboy Bebop. Talking about that kind of stuff, they just literally just now found out that they made a live action Black Butler, which again that does work to a certain extent. Again, there is also a lot of suspension of disbelief in the original source material for that, but it's still within the realm of believability. And again, it's fiction. It's all fiction. None of it's real, but it's just interesting. It's one of my favorite manga and one of my favorite anime, so I'll have to check that out and probably do a video on it. But back to the main point, is that live action anime is very hit or miss. It's very, very hard to nail it down perfectly. And I feel as though choosing the right anime to do a live action show on, or even a live action movie about, is hard, because you want it to be based off of the whatever intellectual property you want to make it about. So it has to fit within the world that has already been created for that IP, essentially. But you also want it to be somewhat different as well, because like I said, if for me, if it's just an exact replica of the animation but just live action, I'm really not gonna enjoy it all that much, because I've already seen it in the anime, the animated show, or I've already read that in the manga. So part of it, I think, is just fans getting all up in arms about their I think people are way too protective of their favorite IPs and their favorite shows, animes and stuff. I think that's why the 20, specifically the 2017 remake of the Death Note was sort of looked at as horrible. Um, like, out of the 996 ratings that it has on IMDb, a vast majority of them are 1-star ratings. And, you have to sort of, I don't know, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. Of course, this was before I saw the actual animated series, so maybe I just went in and watched it in the wrong order. But for what it was, for what the live action was, I didn't think it was all that bad. So that's gonna do it for this episode.